Alright, what's up YouTube? Leo back again here for you, and today we're going to be doing a thermostat swap. I just did one. I ended up with a faulty thermo. My child's out here playing around. You having fun? Yeah, it's nice out again. Remember yesterday was beautiful as always, and same with today. So we're going to be working on the Ford Taurus once again. Number one being, you can always tell because either the temp gauge will be all the way up or all the way down, and you'll have no heat. Either that or another sign of it is it'll be normal. It'll show normal, but your car will still be overheating or underheating. And so either you'll have no heat or the car will be overheating, but the gauge is still reading normal. So that's usually a sign of a stuck thermostat. It's pretty common if you don't keep up on your coolant flushes to get a stuck thermo. Whereas this thing, I literally haven't done a coolant flush since I bought the car, so there's no surprise there. Nothing fancy, guys. You don't have to go out and spend buco bucks on, because coolant's super expensive. I run SuperTech, the real cheap coolant, 50-50 mix. Both bottles cost me like 12 bucks. So first thing you want to do, as always, when you're dealing with it, is locate your thermostat. In my case, it's down here. I can tell because of all the silicone I put on it already. Second thing you always want to do is release all the pressure out, which is simple as just taking this cap off, or in your case, your radiator cap or coolant reservoir cap. Basically, you want to release the coolant pressure in the vehicle. The reason being is so it doesn't just flood all out once you unbolt that, and it drains all your coolant out to the thermostat area. And what I like to do is kind of give this a couple squeezes. And what this does is it just sucks most of the coolant back into the radiator, so I don't end up with this giant mess when I actually unbolt this thing. It's still going to leak out quite a bit, so, but it just helps to not like dump the entire cooling system out. And then you'll want to grab some basic tools. Most of them will require just your basic 10 mil. So I got a ratchet out here. I probably won't even need it because there's not a lot of room. 10 millimeter socket, some extensions, just so I have a little leeway. I got a short one and a long one. Flat head for hose clamps, and a pair of pliers, in my case, for my hose clamps. I have the worst style of hose clamps. And box wrench. This makes it a little easier to reach areas, so 10 mil box. So we're going to start by just disconnecting this hose clamp here. That'll be the first step. Get it out of the way, get the hose off the thermo. It's going to make it a lot easier to work on, especially once we pop the casing off. And we'll work on cleaning all this up. So let's go ahead and pop this off. And I just kind of rock it back and forth. Pull it out of the way. I'm actually going to have to make these one size smaller, which is kind of hard to do while I hold the camera. There we go. Wasn't as bad as I thought. And if you don't hurt yourself while working on a car, like I just skinned off on my knuckle, I find you usually did something wrong, is what it is. So that's kind of my tall tale sign that I'm doing it right, is I like bust a knuckle open or something. And if you kind of squeeze outside of the bell, makes it free up a little easier. And then you just kind of rock it. Next step, I'm going to remove this PCV line to make it easier to get in here. This gives me any kind of room I can get. Disconnect the fuel injection wiring harness. It doesn't take it off, it just gets it out of my way. Just so I don't damage anything, especially getting on this back nut. And so now we're going to take our 10 mil. Let's get that set up. I'm going to try and rock a socket on it. There's not a whole lot of room. I'm thinking the shorty is going to be my best bet with the deep well. Alright, rule of thumb when working on vehicles, guys. Okay. Rule of thumb, always try and find the hardest bolt to get to and start with that guy, obviously, which in my case is this back nut here. And you don't really want to take everything out until you popped everything free. Pretty simple. Next hardest one's going to be the bottom one here, so we're going to tackle this guy next and just back it out. Can you say hi? Say hi.
Hi.
Looking at this thermostat, my copper RTV did fail. It didn't harden properly, which was around this gasket area. So the problem was the copper RTV, although it's a high temp, it's not a waterproof RTV silicone. So it did end up getting into the thermostat, and that's what caused a lot of the damage to it. So therefore I did have to replace this once more. And so we'll go ahead and pop this out, clean this up as much as we can. That's why we have that flathead screwdriver. And we'll clean up all along there. I'm not gonna run RTV on this one, guys. I'm just gonna go ahead and just rock the new gasket. I bought a brand new gasket, brand new thermo. And so we'll just pop this guy off. Yeah, see the RTV's like holding it in. See it? It like melted the gasket. So that's why it did fail, because you can't get anything in these. And so this one is trash. There's still some gasket residue built up on this one, so I'm gonna shove some towels down inside there, so I don't get it in the heater core feed line. So I'll stuff a couple blue towels, go ahead and spray it, and then I have some 150 grit sandpaper. So I'm just gonna very, very carefully and evenly sand the rest of the gasket material off and clean it up with ether, and we should be good at that point, guys. This is kind of what we ended up with. So I got this as good as I could. You want this to be as cleaned up as possible, and then same on the engine block. So it took me a while. I had to sit there with the screwdriver and scrape everything off, hit it with some sandpaper just to kind of get the rest of the residue off of it. So we ended up with this nice clean mounting spot, and then same with the actual housing there, guys. So as best we could, we got it cleaned up, and so we're ready to throw the thermostat in. And easy way to remember this, the spring side always goes in. So as long as you remember that spring always goes in, so you kind of end up with this little like spaceship looking thing, right? And then your gasket will go around that, and then we'll bolt it back into the car. And this is kind of what you're looking for, just a nice placement. Everything sits nice without any kind of assistance from silicone. Don't use silicone unless you buy the waterproof like RTV black or gray. And even then, these gaskets should suffice. They're not the cork gaskets, so we should be good. I'm just gonna rock it like this time, and pray to God it doesn't leak. A little life hack for you guys when you go to throw this back together, because you have to kind of hold everything together and make sure it all lines up. I always recommend when you go back, always do the easiest screw as a hanger screw, kind of puts everything into position for you, and then go ahead and tackle the next hardest screw to get in. And then lastly, your second easiest, which will be the bottom one here. And last part of this install, this book does call for a torque of 110 on all three of those bolts. All right, got them tightened down, guys. Looks beautiful. You can see the lovely little blue strip in there. Nice and tight again. There's a little butt up here. You'll see it, a little tab. That's where the hose is gonna stop. So wiggle it on like that. Let's plug in the PCV line now that we're pretty much good at this point. And so we got that in there, and we're good to fire it up. So we'll leave the cap off. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at our radiator fluid level. It's not completely dry, so we're gonna run it, let it suck this coolant all the way through. It's not a whole lot left in there. I can actually zoom in for you. So we're pretty low. We're like all the way, you see my finger on the outside down here. So, but we want to suck that through, get all the air pockets out, and so it's just simple as starting your car and letting it run until it gets hot. Alright, she's starting to get warm. It really doesn't matter if it's cheap, honestly, because you're going to flush it eventually anyways. So don't buy into that bullshit unless you have a boosted car or something with ITRs and all that shit in there, some super high-end shit. You can just run regular cheap ass 50-50 mix. Just make sure you shake this. And so I'll just start adding some of this in up to the fill line, and that'll pretty much do her, and we'll be done with it. On most of your vehicles, it'll have a fill line for hot, which will be the lower side. Don't suck my hand in the belt there, Leo. And it'll have a cold fill. So since our engine's cold, we're gonna wanna go all the way up. And on the inside, there's little tabs, little plastic tabs in there. You can't see them now, but
That'll let you know from looking at it in this angle that you met the proper specifications. There's a lower one and a higher one. And we're just gonna wait for it to suck the coolant down.
It's kind of cool. It does like a little, almost like flushing a toilet. And we'll know we're good. And we'll just kind of top her back off if the coolant level isn't proper. And we'll be done. So thanks for tuning into this video, guys. I hope I was able to teach you something. Most thermostats on all vehicles are pretty much the same for the most part. Some are harder to get to than others, of course. So I hope this video was helpful to you. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and as always, I'll catch you guys next time. Peace out.
Yes, I know I'm crazy about you.